We got dragons. Tarkir Dragonstorm is only a couple of weeks away, so I thought it'd be a lot of fun to get on here and then talk about a lot of the fun, cool, and new dragons that we got coming our way. We got fat dragons, skinny dragons, dragon daddy, horse dragon, gay dragons. Who are you arching for? Other men? Dragon scoliosis, and furry dragons. Wait, we're going to be talking about a ton of dragons today, so make sure to hit that like button and that subscribe button right before we get into it, because we're in for a fun one. Without any further ado, let's go and get into it. First off, we got Frostcliff Siege. We finally have a way to give trample to all of your Izzet creatures without needing to splash green or anything like that. I love the mobility of these cards because you can choose Temur or Jeskai, and then depending on what you choose, it can fit your deck. And sometimes you can just toss it into a deck where you're going to be using either or depending on the situation. Also, it can cut down on like a feel bad when you're just opening packs, because you can sometimes open a pack for a, I don't know, Temur strategy when you're like, I never played Temur, but I love spell slinging kind of stuff. So this kind of bridges the gap a little bit where it can slot into two very wildly different strategies. Plus, it adds another one of those coastal piracy or enduring curiosity and reconnaissance mission kind of effects. Now, do we really need any more of these? Yes, we do. Next, we have Glacierwood Siege, which is one generic, a green and a blue. When it enters the battlefield, you can choose Temur or Sultai. Sultai allows you to play lands from your graveyard, and Temur says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, target player mills 4 cards. Now, I don't quite know why that is Temur and not Sultai or not anything with black in it, but hey, I mean, you do you. Maybe it's to mill yourself in a Sultai graveyard deck, which a lot of this stuff is, but naming it Temur is just a little off to me. But it is a really, really cool card, and I will take as many Crucible of Worlds type effects as I can get in my decks. Next, we have Hollow Merc Siege, which is 1 black and 1 green. When it enters, you'll choose Abzan or Sultai. With Sultai, whenever a counter is put on a creature you control for the first time each turn, you draw a card and it'll only trigger once each turn. Abzan says whenever you attack, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on a target creature and it'll gain menace until the end of turn, which is fantastic for only 2 mana, because you can just drop this on 2, next turn attack with something you cast on 1, or attack on 3 after casting something on any of your subsequent turns. It'll then act as a buffer and evasion. Next up, we got All Out Assault, which is basically just waves of aggression that sticks around to give all of your dragons death touch. Not that they needed them, but if you're making dragon tokens or smaller dragons like that, it can absolutely just make them such a menace. Plus, that additional combat phase when it enters is going to be so huge because it's in Mardu. That's where we're going to get Nerev, Heart of the Storm, where he says all the dragons that enter the battlefield this turn deal double damage. So if you can cast a bunch of dragons with, I don't know, a Dracokinesis and then cast this guy, they all do double damage and you can attack twice, and it's going to win you the game so quick. Plus, I just love all of these extra combat phase kind of cards. Though it's in Mardu, it's going to be kind of hard to slot into some other decks, but it's going to be a lot of fun in the decks that it can go in. Also, putting it in Kali of the Vast, which we're going to talk about a little bit more later, is going to be broken. Alicia's back and she's bringing all of the blockers with her. So when pathed your Esper Sentinel, he's back. Your cat got murdered, he's back. You miss your friend Steve, he's also back. Though the mana cost is a little bit steep, it's going to be fantastic in the decks that want it. Bringing back little guys, making them stronger, it's going to be great in the decks that care about little guys, especially when you're making them just a little bit stronger. And I don't know, maybe some of your Hera parents as well. We also got Talgum Master Opportunist. You remember Suspend? Well, now it's back, and you get to do it a lot. You're going to be casting, bouncing, copying, and recasting your spells so much that people are not going to be able to keep up with you, especially when you're caring about casting things from exile. Sidisi, Regent of the Mire. She's coming back and she's also going to bring a bunch of stuff back with her. 2 mana is insane for this kind of effect, where you can keep doing it over and over and over again, especially in a deck where you care about untapping and retapping and untapping things over and over again to get value, especially in Ayara. She's also going to be absolutely insane and limited. And yes, you guessed it, Sarkhan's back, and he's picking favorites. Sarkhan allows you to behold a dragon as it enters, which is basically pointing to one guy saying, this guy's my favorite. He's basically just treasuring his dragons just like Bruno Mars does. Then we got Ugin, Eye of the Storm, which is going to be so good in my colorless Karn deck. For 7 mana, he enters, you can kill a thing. Whenever you cast a colorless spell right after him, you get to kill a thing. and then you can gain life and draw cards, or you can add 3 mana to cast more things to kill more things, or I don't know, -11 to win the game if you're into that sort of thing. Plus we got Quasi Revenant, which is just going to be insane and limited again. Yes, I'm mostly talking about commander stuff, but he is going to be insane because you have 3 mana for a flying Death Touch lifelinker. Then when he inevitably dies after attacking for so long, you get to pay 3, which is just his mana cost again, and then get all of those ability counters on another creature. You filthy, filthy Kaalia players. I know you bought the Secret Lair, and it shows. But she has a new love in the form of this guy. Because when he enters, every dragon, demon, and angel that you put out on that turn is going to do double the damage that anyone thought it was going to do. And who knew that Kaalia could just get better and better when you get new dragons? Also, when he enters via you putting him out with Kaalia, that is 8 damage for nothing. All your subsequent dragon, demon, and angel friends will enter and destroy the entire table, or just make them cry. And now, honestly, I'm seriously thinking about making this deck for myself. Another card I want to talk about is Songcrafter Mage, which when it enters the battlefield, it'll give a target instant or sorcery card in your graveyard Harmonize until the end of turn, and its Harmonize cost will be equal to its mana cost, and it has Flash. Now, if you don't know Harmonize, it is, you may cast this card from your graveyard, and you may tap a creature with power X to pay for X of the card's cost. So, in other words, you can give your Harmonize, and draw extra cards. Another card that I think is greatly slept on and not talked about enough at all is Herd Heirloom, which is a 2-mana green mana rock artifact that taps to add 1 mana Veniant color only for a creature spell, but then you can tap it and then target creature with power 4 or greater gains trample until the end of turn, and whenever it does combat damage to a player, draw a card. And in my mind, just stapling reoccurable card draw to a mana rock is just completely invaluable in this format. Next, we got Kori Steelcutter, which is a 2-mana artifact equipment with Equip 2. It gives equipped creature +1/+1, trample, and haste. And then whenever you cast your second spell each turn, you get to create a 1/1 white human monk creature token with prowess, and you may attach this equipment to it. This is a fantastic card for any kind of spell slinging, tokens, whatever. I know personally that I'm going to go ahead and put that in my Zinnia deck, which I try to keep the creature spells in that deck around 5 or 6, and just load it up with artifacts, enchantments, instants, and sorceries, with a handful of planeswalkers in there too. But this is going to be absolutely perfect because I can toss it in there. It's a non-creature spell. I get to make a spirit off of that, and then the deck naturally wants to make a lot of tokens, and wants those token doublers like Mondrak and Anointed Procession and stuff like that. So putting this in there is going to be an absolute beating. I definitely recommend it. Next, we got Dragonback Assault, which is 3 mana and Teamer. When it enters the battlefield, it'll do 3 damage to each creature and each planeswalker. Then it has Landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, you get to create a 4/4 red dragon creature token with flying. Now, you know exactly how much I love Landfall, and I am so excited for this. I don't yet have a Teamer Landfall deck, or a Landfall deck that includes the Teamer colors. I'll definitely be trying to figure out where I can put this. Obviously, I can put it in a dragon deck and it's going to be great, but also, I'm just a big sucker for Landfall, and being able to make a ton of lands enter the battlefield and make 4/4s for each of them, it's just another Herd Baloth, and I am all about that. Plus a bit of a board wipe if you're into that sort of thing. Next, we got a brand new cycle of monocolored lands that all have a super sweet ability tapped onto them. And if you are playing them in a deck that shares any of the same colors with a bunch of the color pairings that came out in Tarkir Dragonstorm, they'll go ahead and enter untapped. So first off, we got Delvokan Encampment, which is the white land, and it'll enter the battlefield tapped unless you control a mountain or a swamp. Then it taps for a white, then you can pay 3 and tap it, and whenever you attack this turn, you'll create 2 1/1 red warrior creature tokens that are tapped and attacking, and you sacrifice them at the end of combat. This is a fantastic card, and I love this cycle. This is maybe on the lower end of how powerful some of the others are, because 3 mana is a little steep for 2 tokens that go away anyway, but it is going to be really, really good in a lot of the mobilize mechanics and stuff like that. Like, I know the new Mardu Zergo that's coming out in this that allows you to not sacrifice any of your tokens that would be sacrificed at the end of combat anyway. So I know this is going to be super, super good in there. Next up, we got Mossright Village, which is probably among the most powerful in this cycle, which it's a blue land that enters tapped unless you control a forest or a mountain. It taps for blue, and then you can pay a blue to tap it, and the next spell you cast this turn cannot be countered. This is ridiculously cheap for an effect like this. I know for one that this is going to be a huge chase card among the people that love to have powerful lands and love safety in their decks and stuff like that, especially in 60 card and stuff like that. Maybe you might not have enough mana to pay for it, but I know a lot of cards like Cavern of Souls and Delighted Halfling get played a lot in some 60 card formats. So an effect like this is so invaluable. Next up, we got Great Arishan City, which enters the battlefield untapped unless you control a plains or a forest, then taps for black, and then you can pay 1 and a black to tap it to exile a creature from your graveyard and create a 1/1 white spirit creature token. Again, not super powerful, but is super, super good when it's tapped onto a land like this, because at any point when you're flooded and the game's gone on long enough to have creatures in your graveyard, you just get rid of that and make a blocker, or get rid of that and make some sacrifice fodder, or what have you. Next up, we got Quarry Mountain Monastery, which is the red one, and it enters untapped unless you control a plains or island. Then it taps for a red, and then you can pay 4 into it to tap it and exile the top card of your library, and until the end of your next turn you may play that. Which I think this is one of the most powerful ones of the entire cycle, because trading in 4 mana and tapping a land technically can be 5 mana sometimes. 5 mana to draw a card in mono red or just on a land is going to be so powerful. Last but not least, we have Kishla Village, the green one in the cycle. It enters tapped unless you control an island or a swamp. Then tap it for a green, or you can pay 4 mana and tap it to surveil 1, which I think honestly is a little overcosted. Am I still going to be playing it? Absolutely. Do I wish it was a different effect than surveil? A little bit. But I do have a decent amount of green decks that want that kind of stuff anyway, and we know it's way better than scrying, and graveyard decks are going to go nuts for this. Now, I do love that cycle. There is another cycle in this set that I like even more. It is, hey, we heard you like Dragonstorm. How about having a little bit more Dragonstorm in your Dragonstorm? This is a cycle of pretty cheap enchantments that will, when they enter the battlefield, they'll give you an effect. Then, whenever a dragon enters the battlefield under your control, you return that enchantment to your hand. So you can go ahead and replay that and keep that effect going. Now, this makes way for a very, very fun, I think, a dragon enchantment deck. Now, I don't know that there's a lot of support for that. I'll do some research and put any enchantment dragons that I can find up on the screen. But I really like these personally, even just in dragon decks in general. First up, we got Teeming Dragonstorm, which is the white one, which when it enters, you create 2 2/2 white warrior creature tokens. Then, whenever dragon enters, you return it to your hand. 4 mana for 4 power on the board is not bad, especially on enchantment, and especially when it's tokens and reoccurable. I could see in this new set when people are getting super creative with dragons, mixing some sort of Maril Shield of Argiv kind of effect and dragon stuff to go ahead and keep returning these kind of enchantments to your hand and keep putting out those soldiers and have a weird kind of soldier synergy with that. I kind of like that idea. Next up, we got Roiling Dragonstorm, which is 1 and a blue. When it enters the battlefield, draw 2 cards and then discard a card. And then dragon enters, you return it to your hand. This one is probably one of the best. Again, it's blue, it's gonna be one of the best. It's 2 mana, draw 2 cards, and then throw something in the bin. You're not gonna need it anyway. You're doing this to draw cards in the first place. Then if you're doing something like even just throwing this in any dragon deck you may have already will allow you to draw way more cards than you had any reason to. Next up, we got Corroding Dragonstorm, which is 2 mana. When this enters the battlefield, each opponent loses 2 life, you gain 2 life, and surveil 2. This one is really cool. I think it is a little bit on the lower powered side when it comes to all of these dragon enchantments. Though I do really like the Surveil 2 and the Gain 2 and Drain 2 in a sort of Gain-Drain style deck. It's fun, but the Surveil 2 is not quite where it's at. I would have preferred it to be 1 more mana and then draw 2, just make it a Sign in Blood kind of effect. But hey, I'm not complaining. I'm really liking these enchantments so far. Next up, we got probably one of the most powerful ones in the entire cycle, bar maybe the next one. 5 mana. When it enters the battlefield, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card with mana value 8 or less. You may cast it without paying its mana cost. If you don't, put it into your hand. Then, of course, dragon enters, you return it. So that is 5 mana, multiple times for a reoccurable cascade, essentially. Which is 5 mana, just get the topmost random creature in your deck, probably going to be a dragon. You return it to your hand, and you can just play it back out again. I love this card. The next up is going to be my favorite one, which, surprise, surprise, it's the green one. It's explosive vegetation, but again and again and again. You've got 4 mana to, when it enters, to search your library for 2 basic land cards, put it on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. When dragon enters, you return it to your hand. This is going to be so great for this new kind of Temur Dragon landfall kind of stuff that I've been seeing, which I think is super, super cool. And again, I would love to see some sort of enchantment build where you put a bunch of dragon enchantments, if there is any, and a bunch of these enchantments to go ahead and keep reusing them. That just seems like a lot of fun to me. Next up, we got another, it's not a cycle, but it's a small grouping of just like super powerful commons and uncommons that I thought were really cool. And sometimes in some sets, we don't get a lot of nice and just generically useful commons and uncommons. But we got a good couple of them here, and I'll go ahead and read them off to you real quick. First up, super simple, we got Dragon Sniper, which is a 1 mana, 1/1 green Death Touch creature with Reach, Vigilance, and Death Touch. I can already hear the Finn the Fangbearer players losing it in the comments. It's going to be yet another 1 mana, 1/1 with Death Touch that can just be thrown into the deck, so you can play that on turn 1 and get somebody up to 2 poison counters on turn 2, and then make a scary deck just even more scary. Next up, we got Rainveil Rejuvenator, which is 4 mana for a 2/4. When it enters, you may mill 3 cards. Then it taps to add an amount of green mana equal to its power. So on its face, it is a 4 mana 2/4 that taps for 2 green mana and then mills you 3 when it enters. In a graveyard deck, this is fantastic. In any deck that cares about big power and or mana, it is beyond fantastic. I can never get enough of these Selvala, Gyre Sage, Kami of Whispered Hopes type effects. This card is going to be going in so many of my decks. I can already feel it. Then we got yet another mana dork, but this time it's red. We got 2 mana for a 3/1 that taps to add red mana. Then you can pay 3 to tap it to sacrifice it. It'll do 6 damage to target creature with flying. This is going to hit most dragons out there and just get rid of pesky stuff. But for the most part, this is 2 mana for a mono red mana dork, which we don't get a lot. As a player of a lot of mono red mid-range decks, this is going to be such
and though I
a
know
huge
it's a little
help
bit
for
of a
that
shorter
kind
one,
stuff.
I didn't talk about some of the other cards that I really like Temur Battle Courier or whatever, which I am going to be putting in my very own Miram deck. And I'm not going to talk about it too much here, but I do plan on making another video with my friend David that you've probably seen in a lot of videos before this. And we're going to be talking about a lot of the commanders that we thought were really cool and we were interested to build, and a lot of the just more powerful ones, and more specifically, the ones that we plan to build, and we're going to go a little bit more depth into that. And a lot of the cards that we plan to put in there. Kind of like how we did with our Aether Drift episode when we did Loot the Pathfinder and Redshift Rocketeer Chief. But yeah, that pretty much brings us to a close for today. I know it's a little bit of a shorter episode. I've been trying to make the machines a little happier and push out my videos a bit more, just by keeping them under an hour if I can. So please let me know if you liked this one, or if you prefer some of the longer stuff. And let me know if you like this kind of video, more of a review and talking about certain cards, rather than a deck tech or gameplay, which I probably will be doing anyway, but I'd love to know what you guys think about this one. So go ahead and leave a couple comments below so I can hear what you guys think. Go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. And I say that a lot, but trust me, it's not just buzzwords that I say just to be like everybody else. They actually really help me out and inspire me to keep making these videos and let me know that you guys actually like them and you want more of this kind of stuff. So please be sure to let me know in the comments what you think of it in this kind of video. And please let me know in the comments what you're excited for in Tarkir Dragonstorm. And tell me what commanders you're interested in building in. I'd love to hear your thoughts on some of the super cool tech that I overlooked that you can put into some other stuff. And yeah, I'd love to talk to you a little bit more in the comments. Yeah, thanks for sticking around and watching this video. I'll catch you in the next one. Let's do it again. Bye.